a lot of people don't know this, but Bard is actually physically closer to Kingston than SUNY New Paltz. We're the closest four-year educational institution to Kingston, and we feel very connected, increasingly so, to this community.
Hi, this is Gedi Šveikauskas. This is our weekly podcast at Hudson Valley 1, and we have as our guest Malia Mont, who works at Bard. It's a very kind of interesting job. I guess you have two jobs, two titles at least.
I have two titles. I have way more jobs than that, but yes, I am the Chief of Staff at Bard, and I'm also Vice President for Strategy and Policy there. Mm-hmm. And those titles, they don't really tell you what I do, other than I help keep things moving. That's the best way to think about it.
They are rather imposing titles, so you must admit. That Chief of Staff is I don't know whether it's a military term or...
There are chiefs of staff in the military. Yeah, not every college has one. It's relatively rare, but I work in the president's office directly with Leon Botstein and help him manage his priorities.
Good. Well, we're here really to talk about the relationship, or the possible relationship between Bard and Kingston. And Malia lives in Kingston. Yeah. And so she's the right person to talk about it. I attended the meeting at the former Tech City at iPark. Yeah. And you were one of the people who was mentioned as very helpful in the I guess the dance between the developer and the county government, and that ended up, I think, with a really remarkable situation. I think it'll be really good for the area, and I think one of the enticements of the area to the developer had to do with education. They want an educational component. I had originally thought, well, that meant the community college, but
they're involved too.
They are, yes. Yeah. But Bard is really such an interesting college that the relationship between the college and the community is an important one. Malia was telling me before we started that there's the Kingston is literally, not literally, figuratively infested with Bard people.
In the best way. Yeah, so I mean, as you said, I'm a resident of Kingston, and a very large percentage of our faculty and staff live in Ulster County. So there's a lot of cross-river traffic every day, and we're bringing Kingston to Bard in that sense, but we're also trying to bring Bard to Kingston in a lot of ways. You mentioned Tech City, so Bard is not directly involved with the developer. We haven't met with them, but we've been really impressed by the county executive's vision and the work that Tim Wiedemann and his team have done to develop a really thoughtful, sustainable, locally based solution to what has been a problem, but what we really see is going to be an enormous opportunity for the entire area. And there are a lot of things that we could bring to Tech City, and so we're being very flexible because, as you said, we're a fairly diverse college. We can bring classrooms, we could bring performing arts. There are a lot of things that we could bring to that space, and that we already are bringing to Kingston.
Well, if one drives to Bard, one gets the experience of being in a different world, in a way, in that it's both the other side of the river, but it's pastoral.
Yeah, it's a scenic drive. It's beautiful, yeah.
And yet it's connected, particularly to New York City, but to other places as well. Through money. The money end is New York City, but I think both programs and money come from other places as well.
Yeah, so we're a global institution, but we really want to be grounded, and I think we are grounded very deeply here in the Hudson Valley. A lot of people don't know this, but Bard is actually physically closer to Kingston than SUNY New Paltz. We're the closest four-year educational institution to Kingston, and we feel very connected, increasingly so, to this community. But we're a global institution. We are one of the co-founders of the Open Society University Network, which is the sun never sets on the Open Society University Network. We've got campuses around the world that are partnering with us, and our students come from everywhere. Yeah. And you may have heard, for example, we have a large number of Afghan refugee students who have arrived and are continuing to arrive, and we've been a real leader in that. And so that's an example of the kind of work we do to bring a really diverse global population interested in education as a transformative feature in their lives and for their communities here in the Hudson Valley.
Well, it must be quite a balancing act because there's so many different kinds of programs in various areas, and you're very strong in quite a few of them. Mm-hmm. And you have, the Leon Botstein's talent is to build a program around funding or build funding around a program, and he does it very, very well. And you mentioned the Open Society, and of course I think of Soros, and I think of the $1 billion endowment that has been talked about, where Soros is willing to match up to, I guess, 500 million.
500 million, yes.
Which is incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is incredible. It's a real, I think it's an expression of faith in our community that we can meet that match, and we're over halfway towards meeting that match in less than a year, which is a real testament to not just Leon Botstein. I mean, he's been the visionary leader of this institution for over 40 years now, but he's not the only visionary at Bard. This institution couldn't succeed only on his shoulders. And so I think we have a fantastic team. We're very well known in the arts, as you know, but there are a lot of other areas where Bard is strong, and that we're strong here in Kingston as well. So in the sciences, for example, we have a number of science classes that we bring here to Kingston in what we call engaged liberal arts and sciences, where students are bringing their classroom to the community and then sharing the results of their work with the community. So we have an air quality monitor that we're doing here in Kingston. We're doing a water quality monitor, and we're sharing the results of that student research with the community. And so that's another example of how the diverse programs at Bard are being connected into the community and hopefully being a benefit to everybody.
Well, I think as a journalist, of course, I'm interested in how specific programs affect are brought about and what your contribution is and so on. And I'd love to know more about it. How come I haven't heard much about it?
Thank you for inviting me today, because this is one reason you haven't heard much about it, I think, is because we're not usually out in the community announcing what we're just doing it. We're doing the work, and we share the work with the government or whoever is going to benefit. And if they tell other people about it, that's great. But our focus hasn't been the PR aspect of it necessarily. It's just, we're trying to do good things, and then we let them speak for themselves. And so, for example, the Bard Prison Initiative is amazing. It's the largest prison education program in the country, and it has.
Well, that I have heard of.
You have heard of that,
in fact.
But I think a lot of people don't realize how different it is from other prison initiatives that exist in other places where maybe, and they're all very good. We're very glad that other institutions are taking on this work. But what we're doing, providing a full BA experience inside a prison, is very different, and is often talked about in the same breath with programs that are not nearly as extensive. And so, we can't control how other people talk about it, and we're not out there trying to, have some kind of big PR profile. We're just trying to do the good work and help people and be a private institution in the public interest. And we're glad for the opportunity to share more info about it, but it really hasn't been a focus.
Well, if I were to describe what we try to do, what I'm trying to do, what I've been trying to do for 50 years and not succeeding entirely, has been to what you say. That is, I want to have the work speak for itself. But sometimes one can carry that too far, I am reminded.
Right. So that's why I was glad to receive your call. because I feel the same way. I'm so proud of my colleagues. I'm so proud of our students. I love being a resident of Kingston. I just think there's so many great synergies here in this community, and there's a really exciting future here, and Bard is an important part of that. And there are a lot of opportunities for us to bring more student performances here. We've done a lot of that. More student artwork, and also give more opportunities for the community to come to Bard and participate in some of the educational programs we have. We have a Lifetime Learning Institute where local adults take classes with Bard professors. We have the Clementi program that you mentioned before, which is won the National Endowment for the Humanities Award from President Obama. It's a national program run by Bard, but we've had that going in the Kingston Library for many, many years, and it's free. The books are free, the transportation is free, the tuition is free, and it's really high quality college courses taught to local adults.
Well, maybe it's time, having built up all this, to have some kind of epical transformation by saying, okay, this is our relationship. What do you need? How can we contribute the best? In an overall sense, the way the Tech City thing was brought together.
We have been doing that. There's been something going on since 2019. We've been doing with a grant. It's called Community Conversations, where we've been convening, and it's been hard under the pandemic, but we've been convening community conversations with a number of different groups in different neighborhoods in Kingston to learn exactly that. Because we're an educational institution. We're not, and there's so many great nonprofits and other community organizations that are already here in Kingston. We're not trying to displace anyone. We want to partner. We want to, bring our strengths to Kingston in support of all the great things that are actually happening here. And I think having a presence, like an actual physical presence, is what Tech City will really uniquely allow us to do. We've had programs here in Kingston for a very long time, but we haven't had our own space. And I think that's one of the reasons that perhaps we're not as well known. I mean, we love working with our partners, and we're so glad that Kingston Library has invited us in over and over to provide the Clementi program there. And we're going to continue doing that. And Kingston High School has continued to invite us in to have our Brothers at Bard program for young men of color. But we don't have our own physical space here.
So you think by having a pied-à-terre here of Bard's own, that it will sort of be a magnet where you're not displacing the community involvement, but you're supplementing it with a kind of a more visible presence.
I hope so.
More visible to larger
I really
people.
hope so, yeah.
Okay, that would be great. You think it'll be at iPark?
I don't know. I hope so. We've been, as I said, very impressed by the work and the vision of Tim Wiedemann and Pat Ryan. And so we've met with SUNY Ulster was part of the last meeting we were at. Ulster BOCES, I think Stockade Works was there, a number of local arts organizations, and there's just a really great synergy that's going to occur between all these different institutions. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like yet, but we're very flexible. We're very excited about the range of possibilities, so we're just waiting to see what's going to happen.
I've always thought that a deeper connection with SUNY New Paltz would be useful in certain ways, certain types of partnership. Like they have. You mentioned my wife's gamelan. They have another gamelan at SUNY New Paltz. And the retiring president, Don Chandler, is very good at expanding certain kinds of programs, but there are certain limitations to public college that can be overcome in part by a relationship with other, sometimes competitive but sometimes not, institutions.
So we do have a relationship with SUNY Ulster. We have...
Right, I know that. And that's a strong one,
and we're really building that out, not just with SUNY Ulster, but with a number of community colleges in the area and strengthening that transfer pathway. We've had a number of really outstanding students transfer to Bard to complete their 4-year BA, and a lot of times we're able to give them enough financial aid that it's not substantially different. And I think a lot of people assume that Bard is just not possible financially for them, but we give financial aid to a huge percentage of our students, and it's really significant. So oftentimes we can make that affordable for people. That's an interesting idea. I am involved with SUNY New Paltz through my work as a veteran in the community, because they have a really outstanding student veteran program office. And so they're a real leader in that area. And we could certainly look at partnering with them in other ways.
Well, it's a world of possibility.
Yes.
It's true. And I recently read a book called My Country Friends by a Russian emigre who was describing sort of a...
Oh, I think I saw that. This is recently written. Within the past 5 years, I think this book came out.
Within the last year.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, and it described the pandemic even. So it's there. Now this fellow has a place apparently where he does his writing in bed, very close to Bard College.
Oh.
And he describes certain things, a trip to up to Columbia County, the presence of the airport, the little aerodrome.
In Red Hook, yeah.
Being able to hear the train go by on the so you can place it pretty much there. But so some people there's some interesting people who are not fully discovered, I think.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
I think the whole area is so
amazing,
it's alive. Even if Bard weren't here, this would be a culturally rich hub. This whole area, and so we're just lucky to live where we do.
Well, you're one of the people that make it so rich.
Oh well, thank you.
And I think that you're connecting to others. The physical space is so different here than it is in New York City. But there's that same sense, of intellectual ferment.
Yes.
That could be developed even further, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's why I'm excited to be here.
Good. So we should really continue this conversation.
I would love to.
Today is not a very good day to do it because you have to go.
Yeah, but I promise to give more time next time. And thank you again so much for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
I very much appreciate your presence, and I will follow up. I think there's some wonderful possibilities.
Thanks so
Good.
much.
Thank you.